Now, starting with question number 31, it says that I need the radius to be plugged in order to find the area. So go ahead and substitute r with 6x to the 9th, y to the 5th, making the exponent on the 6 a 1, because 6 is the same thing as 6 to the first power because there's 1 6. Now, when you multiply each exponent by 2, you get 6 squared, x to the 18th, y to the 10th, making the answer B as in boy. Now we look at number 32. In order to do number 32, you need to first put your equations in standard form. And I noticed the first one is in standard form because I have my x term and y term on the left side together, but the second equation is not. So to do that, you subtract 2x on both sides. When you subtract 2x on both sides, you have negative 2x minus 3y, making this disappear here. And then that equals 12. Now we come here and go to the matrix and enter this in. So the first thing I'm going to do is clear my screen, and I'm going to go second matrix, go over to edit, press enter. You have to enter in the dimensions. This is a 2 by 3. Whenever you do a system question, and it will say it 90% of the time, when you have a system of equations problem and you're using a TI-84 calculator, you have to tell the matrix command how large the matrix is. And so you have 2 rows, 1, 2, and then 3 columns. Now we enter in the coefficients. So I notice here that in front of the x is a 2, so I put a 2. I notice here that in front of the y, there's no number. That means there's a 1, not a 0. And then negative 4 is what it's equal to, so I put that last. Do the same thing for the next equation. So negative 2 goes first, and then negative 3 is next, and then 12 is last. After you're done, hit second, quit. Then go back to the matrix, second matrix, and go over to math and select this command. When you do that, you have to then tell it what matrix to evaluate. So second matrix, and select it under names. There it is. Press enter, and now there's the answer. So I did this problem a few moments ago, so I know I did it correctly. This is the x column, this is the y column, so x is equal to 0, and then y is equal to negative 4. So given that I have x equal to 0 and y equal to negative 4, the answer is F. That means the negative 4 is going to be on the y-axis. Be very, very, very careful. The negative 4 cannot be on the x-axis because in the x spot was the 0. And we know that because we put x's in this column, and you can look and see x's are in this column, y's are in this column. So that's how I got this answer. The answer is F. We're going to move on. Now let's look at number 33. It is extremely difficult to understand, so let me take my time and try to explain it where that you can get it, given that this is a video. When you go to the y equals screen, you're going to put what you see on the left side of the inequality symbol in y1, and then what you see on the right side of the inequality in y2. Now, after you do that, you're going to go to the table, so you hit second graph, and you have to look at the values. It's not that difficult. What we have to figure out is when is y1, this expression, smaller than y2. So the answer is B. Let's discover why. When I go to y1, when are the values on this side smaller than y2? Well, right now here it's bigger, bigger, still bigger, still bigger, and then I have the same number. So that means 3 is the answer. But it's not below 3 because 2, 1, 0, negative 1, 2. Those x values are below 3. They're less than 3. So x will not be less than 3 because this column is bigger than this column. Remember, we want to know when is y1 smaller than y2. So we look at the values on the other side of 3, meaning when the x's are larger. So when x is 4, what happens? This number is smaller than that number. This number is smaller than that number. And I know with negatives we get confused because 5 looks bigger than -2. Or -5, excuse me, looks bigger than -2. But this is what you have to do. Which one is closer to 0? The one that is closer to 0 is bigger. This is closer to 0. -2 is closer to 0. So that's the bigger one. This is smaller. That means when the x values are larger than 3, my y1 will be bigger than y2, making the answer choice B. So practice that. Let's move on to number 34. On 34, very easy. Hopefully you will pause the video and read the question. I'm not going to read the questions. I'm just going to speed through how to work them out. It's asking for the maximum, so that means I need the top of the graph. The top of the graph is right here, and that maximum value is 9. The maximum point would be the vertex, which is 2, 9, meaning the axis of symmetry is 2, cuts it down the middle, and the maximum value, not minimum because this is a maximum, is 9, which is why the question asks for max. So you would just write 9 and then bubble that on your answer document. Number 35. We're going to skip this one and we'll do this one in class. Let's move on and do number 36. Number 36. Okay, real easy. I want to know which table represents a function of x. And all that's saying is find the table where x does not repeat. Well, it repeats here, so it cannot be h. All of these repeat on j, so it cannot be j. Letter G on number 36 is the only one that shows x values that do not repeat. So that's what that is. You could also look at the graph. Let's say that I have a circle and I wanted to know, do the values repeat or not? Well, if I draw a vertical line through this, it hits it twice. So this would not be a function because that's the x values repeating, just like on letter H. But if I drew something like this, like a parabola from a quadratic equation, and I drew a vertical line through it, no matter where I drew the line, it would only hit it once. So x value did not repeat, or the x values did not repeat, therefore this is a function. Now let's talk about number 37. Which statement about f of x equals 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 is true? Very simple. Type this side of the equal sign into the y equals screen, and then type in your answer choices, the factorization, into y2. When the tables match, you have an answer. So real quick, let me see if I can go ahead and type this in. Be very careful about typing in quadratics. You want everything in one line when you type it in from the problem. You don't split it up like we did on the inequality. So this is 2x squared minus 3x minus 5. Then we come down, and this is x plus 1, and then 2x minus 5. And then we press the table. And when I do that, voila, I see that the columns match, therefore C is my answer. Good job. Now, if there are two problems that give this factorization, just check the zeros. That means where it crosses the x-axis. So you can press graph, and you'll see the graph, and it crosses at -1, which is an answer choice. So, moving on. Let's do number 38. On number 38, you have to find the rate of change. It means the slope. So, I have to find 2 points on the graph, and I did. Now count. But be careful. Watch and look at the scale. Now, this side is going by 1s, but this down here is going by, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, by 5s. So when I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that really is 5 because those are going by 1s. But over here, when I go over by 12, that means I went 60 because that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So the rise over run is 5 over 60. And then that reduces to 1 over 12, which makes the answer G. Now let's do number 39, which is here. On number 39, this is another matrix problem. How do I know? It's a system of equations. But remember, it must be in standard form. So given that, what do we have to do? Go to the matrix in the calculator. So how do we get there? How do we get to this screen? Hit second matrix. Go over to edit. Press enter. Make sure it says 2 by 3. And your calculators will not say 2 by 3 on the test day because we have to reset them. So after you do that, we're going to put in the coefficients. So 10 goes first, and then after that we have -1 because there is a -1. I'm sorry, 10, okay. -1 is what I have right there. So type in -1 and then hit the enter button. And then after that, do 53, press enter. And then I notice this one right here is not in standard form yet. So I split up the 2 and I say -13 divided by 2 and then 92 divided by 2. After I do that, I have to move this to the other side, and when I move it to the other side, it gives me a positive number, a positive x term actually. And so that is 13 over 2x plus y equals 92 over 2. Now I plug that in and put 13 divided by 2 here, enter. And then I put a positive 1 and enter. And then I put 92 divided by 2, enter. So now I have entered in the second equation. The hardest part of this problem is going to be transforming this into standard form. But when you press enter, you do second quit, you go back, and you grab this command, and when you do, it gives you the x is 6 and the y is 7. And so that is answer choice A. Now, let's look at number 40. The table contains some points on the graph of an exponential function. Because it says the word exponential, you will do an exponential regression in the calculator. So put these in list 1, put these in list 2. List 1, after you do stat edit, put your x values in list 1, put your y values in list 2, and then when you're done, you hit stat calc, and then you go down to exponential regression. And when you press enter, the answer that it should give you, you may have to press enter 2 or 3 times, but when it's done, it should reflect what you see here. Now we're moving on to question number 41. Number 41 we'll do in class. Let's do number 42. On 42, this is a direct variation problem, and in class we talked about the phrase when you see directly proportional, what's in front is always y, and what comes after that is always x. So because it says something is directly proportional to something, this in front is y, meaning the voltage of the resistor, and the current of the resistor is going to be x. So I have already created my table. And then it says here that the current is 12, and then it says after that that the voltage is 480. So I put 12 here, and then 480 here, and then I put 1.5 under the current because that's what it says it is. We then cross multiply, and we divide it by 12, and it gives us 60. And that is the answer to the problem. So one more time, it says 12 amps is the current, and that goes in this column. And then it says 480 is the voltage, so that goes here. Then it says, what is the voltage for a current that has 1.5 amps, which is here. So you cross multiply, which is 720, and then you divide, which is 12, and that gives you 60. Let's do number 43. Number 43, it says, which graph shows a line that is an x-intercept of -5? So I just looked to see where it crosses the x-axis. It crosses right there. My answer is A. Very simple. Number 44. On number 44, I need the range. So I look at the ladder steps. So it's from 0 all the way up to 9. So the answer is G. Now remember, domain would be the jail cell bar. So that would be from 0 to 28, which is F. Okay, now let's do number 45. So 45, as for the zeros, so I just want to know where it crosses the x-axis. It crosses here and here. So between 0 and 1 could be 1/3, and then between 1 and 2 could be 1.5, so the answer is D. All right, moving on to number 46. Which equation in standard form has a graph that passes through this point? Well, just take -4 and 2 and plug it into the x and y spot. When you do that, you will see that the answer is h. Now, h has a slope of 9/2, just like the rest of them. And I know that because all of the values in front of x are 9, and all of the values in front of y are -2. If that doesn't happen and you have different values here, you're going to have to solve for y to see the slope. But in this problem, they made it easy. The slope is going to be the same for all of them, so you don't have to find the slope. You just need to plug in -4 in the x spot, 2 in the y spot, and you get -40. Let's talk about 47. I need to know which graph represents -7/2x minus 2. It crosses the y-axis at -2 right here. So I know that this is a possible answer. It is a solid line, and I need a solid line because there's a line under this. This one doesn't have a solid line, so it cannot be A. D doesn't have a solid line, it cannot be D. The slope is -7/2, so I am moving down 7 and to the right 2. And when I do that, I have 2 points on the line. Now it says greater than or equal to the expression, which is above, and this is shaded above, so the answer is B. Now we do number 48. On number 48, let's see here. I know that the total number of coins I have would be 18, and I have quarters and dimes. So Q plus D is 18. There we go. Now, it says I have a total of $2.85, so quarters are 25 cents, dimes are 10 cents. I have a total of $2.85, making the answer H. So now I'm going to stop the video and then try to complete the rest of the problems on part 3.